this computer. Okay, now I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. All right, let me know again. Can you see the screen, the media plan?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so as I had said, you can go through all this in detail, but I wanted to go over it with all of you just to kind of talk through my thinking and what, just some to help you in the future when you're doing this type of thing for a client or for an employer, so that this will help you in that process. So this is, not all media plans are going to be written exactly the same, but this is a pretty good idea of what they will include. And so some of these things are just, little grammar and styling type things, and others are more bigger macro thinking type things. So I want you to put the client's name in the title. So this would be, instead of saying media plan for client, you would just say media plan, Hope House Montgomery. And you don't need the words name and date here because you just need to list it. You don't need those titles there. In the situational analysis, that is usually just kind of like setting the stage for what this whole document's about. It's kind of just like a summary of where you are and what you're trying to accomplish in this plan. And so this was the styling thing. If you're double spacing between paragraphs, you don't need to also indent. So choose one or the other. I like the second option where everything is flush left, and then you indent in between paragraphs. I think it's a cleaner look. Nonprofit is not hyphenated. What do I have here? Okay, this is a good point. Just in general about writing, I've pointed out to students quite often, but you can see that this sentence says, our client Candace Kane is starting a nonprofit organization called Hope House Montgomery. Hope House will focus on bringing, so anytime you have the end of a sentence that has a noun like Hope House Montgomery, and then the very next sentence starts with the same noun like Hope House, you can join those sentences together with a which. So I wrote it in here. Hope House Montgomery, which will focus. So you just connect the two sentences instead of repeating the noun twice. It's a little thing, but it's something that is important for everyone to learn because it'll just make your writing cleaner. Okay, so this Hope House will focus on bringing hospitality and Jesus to an area that needs love. I thought that was kind of just too puffy, it just needs more specific to it. I like this next one where it says producing programs serving the neighborhood and the people who live there. So I think I would drop that previous sentence and then just expand on this next idea, which will be about the programming serving the neighborhood and the people who live there, that whole area. And Candace is going to be sending me kind of more of a coordinates and map so that we'll know exactly what area of Montgomery it is, so we can get a little bit more information about the type of, community that lives there, what the demographics are. I'm suggesting here a little bit of reorganization. And the reason I'm going through all this in detail is because now that you've all worked on one together, you're each going to take this first draft and create your own final draft. So for the final draft, you don't have to turn this in until the very last week of class now. For your final draft, you'll be doing it separately. So this is your kind of foundation, and now you each can take it and make it what you think it should be based upon my comments. I would add a graph in here about Candace. She's the transition between Hope House Montgomery and Hope House Detroit. So you have a little bit about Candace here in the latter part of this paragraph. But I would probably put her first, and then talk a little bit more about Hope House Montgomery. And then, so I would go back and listen to her thoughts and her ideas that she talked about in our meeting with her. That is on your Moodle page that I recorded. So instead of going to Hope House Detroit this early in your media plan, I would save it to the end or the third paragraph of the situation analysis. And you guys stop me if you have questions, or if I'm not being clear enough. And also this last sentence, we're not only doing social media for them, so I would broaden the language here and not make it specific to social media, because it's going to be much bigger than that, because go look at the assignments that you'll be doing during this class, and you'll be doing an infograph or a flyer. You'll be doing a video together. That'll be a group project. You'll be doing some blogs. So kind of list those kind of things in this paragraph. Okay, SWOT analysis, y'all did a pretty good job on this. For the strengths, I also would add in the word intern into the part about the universities that they can partner with, that's a strength. I also would add another strength, that there is also a connection with area churches for donors and volunteers. There's a lot of churches in the area. Candace already has a connection with one of them. So let's list that as a strength. This one is just a little thing, a weakness. You have weaknesses here, and then you said a weakness again. So we just need to start it out with HHM may experience. So that's just a wording thing on that one. Going on to the next page, opportunities. I like it that you had a stat there about the illiteracy in Alabama. I think you could probably make it more specific though to Montgomery, and you could find demographics just about Montgomery. I'm pretty sure you can. You may have to dig a little bit because the whole state, that's like giving demographics for the whole state of Michigan and not just Rochester or Pontiac or Detroit. So be more specific with the stats if you can find that. And y'all are welcome, if someone finds that, you're welcome to share it with one another, but your media plan, your final one, you'll be doing individually. Threats, good ideas about threats, but the only one I didn't like was that I don't know that nonprofits are really competing against one another. I guess they could be as far as fundraising and all that, but hers is going to be really unique and small. So I don't think it's really a threat. In fact, I think the fact that there are nonprofits might actually be an opportunity and not a threat, because she could team up with them and they could work together. So think through that. I'm not going to tell you what to do on that. That's going to be up to you when you turn in your last final draft. These last 2 points were excellent. Yes, those are definitely threats to Hope House Montgomery and her getting this off the ground. Okay, next page. I like the research and the demographics. I felt it was a little hard to read the way it's laid out. So I would either put all this information into bullet points or make a pie chart or whatever would be appropriate for this type of information. Also, this point, you have a lot of other nonprofits, which I think is good to have that research. But instead of listing their website, put their name first and then put their website, but you don't need to put the HTTPS. You don't need that whole address in there. It just makes it cluttery. That's not a word, cluttered and harder to read. So those parts of information you had, I just want you to format it a little bit differently. And then I do think you need to work on this research area a little bit more. I think you should need some other research. You could include details about the local universities. I would definitely target Faulkner. And isn't it funny? I always think this because they're FU, and I just think that those aren't really good initials for a university, but it's FU, Faulkner University. And then maybe Alabama State is right there. Maybe look and see which of the colleges are right closest to this area when she sends us the address, the kind of the coordinates of where she's looking for a house. Also add in information about the church. They've already expressed interest in helping, and several of her board members are going to be from this church. And she's going to be sending me the name. I should know the name. I just can't remember it. So she's going to send me that name, and you could just put a little bit of research about that they have 200 members or 300 members or whatever it might be, and where they're located. And so I'm going to write myself a note. I will get some of that. I'll make sure that she gets that information to me. So I have that note in there just for you to remember for your final draft. Okay. Stop me if you have any questions. Objectives and goals. Some of these, well, let's just go through them one by one. Use and make more social media accounts, Twitter and TikTok. Since they don't have any social media accounts yet, I would change the language to start social media accounts. And I think your objectives and goals, that you need some broader goals that are making people aware of Hope House Montgomery through social media sites, such as whichever ones you think we should use. Now, I do want you to think through which social media Hope House Montgomery should start with. I don't think they should start with Twitter and TikTok, but I could be, if you persuaded me, I could, if you gave me good information and good evidence as to why those would not be the best ones, that would be fine. If that's, if you know, just give me your reathing.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So I changed it because I kind of misunderstood it.
Okay, that's
Um,
fine.
so I thought Instagram and Facebook are obviously priority. But you said that we should link or like only do 2 or 3. Why should we only do 2 or 3?
Well, I just, from my own experience, working for nonprofits with social media, I think they sometimes start too many. You know, they'll do Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and then they don't keep up with them. They get overwhelmed, and a lot of times it's a volunteer doing it. Now, having said that, that's a really good point, because you made me think through it a little bit more. A lot of, like, you can download Facebook Page Manager app on your phone, and you can actually control both Facebook and Instagram at the same time, so that you're not having to do them separately. That's the main thing, is mostly because of time.
Okay.
I have just found from nonprofits that if they get too many, or even small businesses, if they get too many of them, then they just let one of them kind of die, and they don't even update it enough. So I would really, I think, starting with just 2, because that's manageable, and really getting those strong and off the ground. And then if it's going well and you have a really good volunteer doing it or whatever, then maybe you could add something else.
Okay.
I also do think, you know, I think that one of the main audiences is going to be college students. So that's why I thought Instagram might be better. But I could be persuaded differently that maybe TikTok or Snapchat would be better to reach college students. I just know that Instagram is still popular with college students. I would not use Facebook for college students. So that's something for y'all just to think about, is who exactly is my target audience, and what's the best social media for me to use to reach them. So good question. I would probably just start with 2, but that could just be because of my own past experiences with nonprofits. So
I also changed most of the goals to be
okay,
like I said, 1 or 2 posts on social media weekly, and then if there's a story, 2 or 3, achieve 80 followers in 2
yeah,
months.
perfect.
So I changed it.
Yeah, I think that's good. I did put on here increase, like y'all said, increase interactions on social media by 10%. Well, if they did that, since they're just starting, that would just be 10 people. So,
Yeah.
so I think if you said we want to have 100 followers in 2 months or 3 months or whatever, within 2 months, I think at this point to use more numbers, but percentages is something that would be used down the road. So, I like the idea about having, you know, regular posting, website. Of course, one of the objectives though is to create a website. We don't have one yet. So instead of D, it says increase website traffic. I would change that language to create a website. This is really going to be their main platform because it's cheap. And that's the way that people are using, you know, getting their information today. So I definitely would put the website in as an objective, but I would change the wording. So allow clients to leave public feedback, yes, but I think it's too early for that. So I probably wouldn't even make that an objective or goal at this point. Maybe if I was doing a media plan in 2 years for them, but not right now. Okay, any other questions about that part?
I'm good.
Okay. I did also say some objectives and goals is like making donors aware of Hope House Montgomery, forming partnerships with area universities to have interns and volunteers, forming partnerships with churches. We'll have to get started first, so I think I would put those in as objectives and goals as well. Audiences, this area needs to be more specific. So instead of just saying church people and Faulkner University, let's put in some information about, that I really think that we start off with targeting Faulkner University first, because that's where Candace works, and she's going to have a lot of pull and sway and know people there. So I think that's really where our first university should be, but then also listing some of the other ones. So maybe we separate them out and we get some demographics of students at Faulkner. If you go to Rochester University's website, you can find out demographics about our students. So Faulkner should be the same. We're required to do that by the Department of Education. So we should be able to find stats about their student body, where they're from, kind of their age, that type of thing. And also donors. We need to describe donors, maybe some demographics of, maybe we could find a story or a stat or a survey of someone who says most donors to this type of nonprofit are between the ages of 40 and 60. I don't know. I'm just kind of look for that and see if you can be more specific about your audiences. And really, you could just put this in a list of bullet points. You don't need to have a paragraph about it. Messages, just this is a message, that I had written in there. So just make sure that gets deleted, this first, the thing I have highlighted there. I like your, I think your messages need to be targeted a little bit more. It's this is a weak section, but go back and look at the messages that were in the Hope House Detroit document that's on Moodle. And use some of those as ideas for your new messages. And you're going to need to do this before you start working on your blogs this week, which I'll get to next. So kind of, I would say these are just unselfishness, yes, but it's just way too general. It doesn't really say much. Help the less fortunate. I would, go find some messages from Hope House Detroit and use them for Hope House Montgomery.
I have another question though.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I expanded a little bit, and
Okay.
I have like one section that had a subsection that said providing community building and education for children of all ages. So then in
Perfect.
like a subsection, I had like maybe we could help the kids with their homework, plant flowers in the community, clean up the parks by like picking up trash, stuff like that. So I expanded upon it.
Yeah, that's perfect. Exactly. So just more specifics, and what you said, that's much better. So good job on that. Good. I'm glad you already read it. That way you can ask me questions. Okay, I'm going to go on to tactics and channels. Again, this first little line can be taken out because that was just for me explaining to you what you needed to do. I think your tactics and channels, what did I say here? It's just too generic. Really, you could just look at the assignments you have in class and list them here. That we're going to do a flyer to hand out. I'm thinking of a flyer that Candace can hand out to Faulkner University and at her church to find donors, to find volunteers, to kind of get the word out that she's got this. So a flyer is one of your assignments. A video, I think a video of Candace kind of sharing her heart and explaining what she's going to do, and we'll work on that. I think that's in a few weeks that you'll work on that in this class. So look at your assignments and then build those into your tactics. These are the tactics that we're going to be using to help her. We're going to create a logo. She needs some kind of branding, some kind of image. So just list that as one of your tactics. So also look at your target audiences. How will you communicate with them? So we don't want to rely just on social media. And I think everything that I wrote here, I just said. So let me know if you have questions about that. But I think really you should be able to do this section based upon the assignments that we are doing in this class. Yeah, how about a video of Candace speaking about her goals and dreams for this? That's kind of what I'm thinking of, the group video that you'll be doing later in the semester. So timeline I know is hard at this point, but let's just say that she's going to, let's use fall 2021 as her starting point. So we're going to need maybe to start communicating by maybe April. Well, students will be leaving, so maybe, yeah, she can start putting all this into place. So maybe March and April to start getting the word out. So think of a timeline that this is when she's going to start. And she said she's going to try to have a house, the money for the house by fall. So if she could start getting the word out, start getting donors. So kind of plan backwards and kind of just speculate. We're not going to know exactly, but this could be something good and helpful for her to think about what kind of timeline she wants to work with. Go through and actually, what did I say here? Oh, that just needs to be deleted. So that was all about the timeline. I know it's hard, but someone is yelling outside my window. Look at fall 2021 and move backward from that. Budget is difficult at this point. I really would just list, you don't need to write commentary. I would just put in a list of costs. So look up the costs. You have the cost for Wix and Squarespace, but I would do the annual cost, not the monthly cost. And the business cards, you know, go to one of the printing online and think about maybe 3 people need business cards. I'm thinking Candace and maybe a couple of people on her board, maybe say 5 people. Let's say 5 people need business cards, and find the cheapest kind of business cards that you can find. I think $500 is a lot for that cost. So really right now, I think copying flyers, this website, and business cards, we can start with that. You can look through the assignments and see if there's anything else you think that you might want to throw in to the budget. Okay, and evaluation, I always hate doing evaluation. It's my weak point, I think. It's really just seeing how things worked. So I want you to go back and look at the slides. I know it's not easy, but go back and look at the slides. So maybe we say we want to have a website built by April or March, whatever. And so did we get that website built? Have we got our Instagram and Facebook or whatever off the ground? And do we have 100 followers? So kind of look at your objectives, your goals, and then match up and see, how will I evaluate whether that was successful or not at the end of this campaign? So really, we would not even be doing our evaluation until fall, or even the end of the fall, like December. Did we have, we want to get, do we want to get 20 volunteers? Maybe that's a goal. We should put that's a good idea. Let's put that in as a goal, 20 volunteers or 10, whatever we want to say. You think through that. Candace, we could always reach out to her and see how many volunteers she thinks she needs. I'll write that on my list for her. How many volunteers? Okay, so kind of think through, once you have your goals, how are we going to evaluate them? And that could be on your timeline where you put evaluating the success of the media plan, say in December. I think December would be a good time to do evaluation. Okay, so that's going through that. Do you, Jennifer or Brad, either of you have any questions or comments about that?
No, not really.
Okay. Brad, anything else? You've asked a couple of things. So.
Not really. I changed
Okay.
my media plan looks completely different. I added a lot after.
Good. No, that's why I'm kind of glad that y'all did it together. That way we had a starting point for me to make comments on. A few years ago, a while ago, PR writing, in your PR media techniques class, which was PR writing, you did a media plan in that class. And then by this class, you would have already done one. But since we kind of have dropped that out, this is the first time y'all really done something like this. So I think it's helpful to do this first draft together, and now y'all can do your own separately. So, okay, let me just show you one more thing. I'm going to go pull up Moodle. Can y'all see my Moodle page?
Not right now.
No.
You can't? Okay, let me go look at Zoom here. Let me do this. I'm not, that's my fault. It shows me all these different screens, and I don't know how to transfer unless I go all the way out. So, okay, now do you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is week 3. Hopefully you've already looked at this. And I have all this information here. These slides on blogs are sort of ones that you might have used in a different class, but I've revised them just for this assignment for you to look through and just to kind of remind you about some things. Also remember to go back and look at materials about blogs that you did in PR media techniques and digital media strategies. David Meerman Scott has a couple of chapters on blogs that I think are really good, and that might help you. And then I also have some things basically for nonprofits. So your nonprofit start a blog, that's an article. Here's some examples of best nonprofit blogs. Here's 170 blog post ideas for your nonprofit. Those are just different articles. And then these are actually blog ideas that my 2016 class came up with for Hope House Detroit. So you may be able to use some of these ideas for your blogs that you want to write. So your assignment this week is to write 2 blog posts for Hope House Montgomery. I want you to think, I think it helps when you're writing blogs if you think specifically about an audience. So maybe you write one blog directly to college students who you want to get to volunteer for Hope House Montgomery. Tell them about Hope House Montgomery and tell them how they can volunteer. Some of it you're going to have to kind of make up, but at this point, and then we can revise it when Candace is a little bit further along. I do think a good blog would just be introducing Candace, maybe her history, her past. Another idea would be to just talk about her ideas and dreams for Hope House Montgomery. Maybe even a blog post about Hope House Detroit as an example of what we're doing. So those are just some, those just came off the top of my head. Those are just some ideas, but think about your audience and who you're writing to. So each one should be 500 to 750 words. That's the normal recommended length for a blog post. Even though I read that some blog posts that are longer get more sharing on social media, but I don't like reading blog posts that are really too long. So we're going to say 500 to 750 words, write a headline for each one, include subheads if you think they're helpful. You don't have to include that. And then also find a photo or graphic for your 2 blog posts. So you'll have 2 photos and 2 blog posts. Since we don't have any photos, they're just getting started, you can use stock photos. Canva has some stock photos, and so does unsplash.com that are high quality. But you can find those anywhere. Just provide photo credits so that I know where you got it. And so you're going to upload 3 files here by Friday, the 2 blog posts, and then the 2 blog posts will be in one document, and then 2 photos that you would use for each blog post. And just tell me in your blog post which photo goes with which writing. I'll probably be able to figure that out, but just let me know. Okay, so do you have any questions about that assignment?
I'm good.
Jennifer? Jennifer, you
No.
there? Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so that's all I have for today. So I just wanted to go over that with you. I can always help you individually. So if you have specific questions once you get into this, send me a note and we can set up a Google Meet or Zoom time for me to talk with you if you have questions when you're writing a specific blog post and you don't know where to go, or send me a draft and I can look over it. So I'm here to help. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you both.
All right.
See you later.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.